Hi everyone, this is Molly McCord and welcome to my YouTube channel. And in this video I'm going to share with you some insights about the Venus retrograde that's happening here in 2018. I'm going to focus on specifically Venus's ongoing conversation with Saturn and Uranus as she goes retrograde from October 5th, 2018, and she will remain retrograde until November 16th, but she will then go back into Scorpio and remain in Scorpio until January 7th, 2019. So we have a long journey of Venus in Scorpio, and I want to give you some ways to understand the energies and what might be happening in your world as we experience this retrograde energy. Venus is associated with money, self-love, relationships, how we relate, how we receive. She is one of the feminine energies in astrology, and she signifies how we feel loved, first within ourselves as a signature of our self-worth and self-love, and then in relationships with other people who mirror that same love back to us. So Venus is essential in establishing your relationship with yourself and then how you create relationships with other people based on that same energy. Whenever she goes retrograde, we do the RE words. We reprioritize, recommit, we receive as well. And this retrograde time with Venus is going to be quite interesting because she is going to be traveling through relationship signs. So on October 5th, Venus will be at 10 degrees, this is Venus, 10 degrees, Scorpio, 50 minutes, and that S signifies station, as in stationary, to go retrograde. It also basically means stop. She's stopped in the sky from our perspective here on Earth. She will then move retrograde back to 25 degrees of Libra until November 16th. So I did this line here just to give you an idea that she's going to be moving back and forth over these 15 degrees from 10 degrees of Scorpio to 25 degrees of Libra. And this is a significant area in your natal chart to examine, to know where she is traversing, because that's where these energies are going to be working with you the strongest. Now, she will go back into Libra November 1st, and she basically stays in Libra until December 3rd. I'm talking slow in case you wanted to write these dates down. And so basically all of November, Venus is back in Libra. Then she re-enters Scorpio, December 3rd. December 19th is when she will move to 11 degrees. Let's say that's 11. 11 degrees of Scorpio, which brings her out of this area that she's going back and forth in. When she goes to 11 degrees of Scorpio on December 19th, she is out of her shadow. Okay, so essentially this territory that she's covering, she goes retrograde, stations direct, and goes forward again through the same territory, and then she's out of her shadow December 19th once she hits 11 degrees of Scorpio. And then she enters Sagittarius January 7th. So we're going to have an extended period of time of her moving in this section of your chart, and I want to give you some more ways of understanding it. Now, it's important to know that Jupiter is in Scorpio at this time, right? And is at 22 degrees. But Jupiter was previously in this part of your chart between 25 degrees of Libra and 10 degrees of Sagittarius, September 17th, 2017, until November 30th, 2017. So Venus is now traversing that same territory that Jupiter previously highlighted and expanded. So it's important to note that because it's the same energy for you. That now Venus is coming through and reworking. She's helping you reassess, reprioritize, recommit, re-examine what is related to your true sense of worth, love, value, money, and what is not. Because the Scorpio energy is what we take on from other people. Unconsciously at first, especially in our childhood, especially when we are exposed to energies where we don't know anything different. You don't have any other experience, say, of power or money or love than what you were programmed with, how you grew up. And so the Scorpio energy is often unconscious because we don't realize what we've taken on from other people. And we've taken it on emotionally or energetically. We've taken it on because it's what we were taught, how we grew up. It does depend where Scorpio is in your natal chart. That's where these energies show up for you. What you learned unconsciously from other people about how to be powerful, how to be in relationships, how to share money. What is money about? What are finances about? What is your true sense of power? What is your true sense of worth? Big topics. And with the Venus retrograde in this energy field, we're all examining, now wait a minute, what's mine? And hey, is this really what money means to me or how I want to use money? What does it mean to feel powerful? What does it mean to truly love myself based on my terms and who I am, regardless of what other people showed me or shared or what I unconsciously absorbed? Scorpio is also associated with abuse, emotional, psychological, sexual abuse. It is abuse is power. Other people's power over you, and it's how we work through feeling powerless to return to feeling powerful. And that's a basic way to summarize the Scorpio journey, is where you have felt powerless and where you are returning to what is true for you. It's also returning to a place of unconditional love, which is ultimately what Venus wants to feel and express. She just wants to be loved for who she is, unconditionally, warts and all, no matter what the fears are. Scorpio brings up our fears, our deep fears. It brings up our emotional fears, our shame, our guilt, our sense of, I don't know if I can do that. And so ultimately, Venus in Scorpio is returning us to a place of greater intimacy with who we really are, accepting ourselves when we're naked, emotionally naked, right? Like that sense of, this is who I am. I have these fears. I have these doubts. I'm afraid of this, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I can do this. It looks at all those fears. Scorpio is associated with counseling, therapy, psychology, and healing, because that's how you move through these energies. It's the dark night of the soul, and you move through it. You move through that dark tunnel to get to the power that you hold that's always been within you, but it's been covered up by other people's energies or other experiences. This can also relate to your soul experiences, and understanding that, no, that's not even who I am. And we have great support for these themes right now because of how Venus is going to make some big aspects to Saturn and Uranus as she is in retrograde and then moves direct again. So I'm going to talk about those two planets specifically. There are other aspects and there's other ways to look at this, but that's what I want to offer you because I believe that's the most significant thing to focus on in this retrograde period, is how you are being encouraged to remove and strengthen your own sense of love, of power, and the belief in yourself that you are worthy. Now, Venus in Scorpio can remove. It's a loss. You can lose. You can have that sense of, I've lost myself. I've lost who I am. I've lost myself in relationships. I've lost my connection to abundance or financial flows at times. And then you get it back. And because it is Venus, it's receiving it back. It's receiving it back from a power that's greater than you, which I believe is the spiritual energies that we then summon forth and we reconnect with. And it's understanding that nothing is ever lost. It just changed form, but then it will transform again. So in this retrograde period, Venus is going to make some big oppositions to Uranus. Now, I'm going to show you how Uranus is, on the day of her retrograde, Uranus is at 1 degrees of Taurus retrograde 2. Now, she's not in a direct opposition at this time of her retrograde, but I just wanted to give you this visual so you can see that it's literally on the opposite part of the chart. The Uranus opposition to Venus was on September 13th at 2 degrees. 2 degrees, she was at 2 degrees of Scorpio and Uranus at 2 degrees of Taurus. And this is a breakup energy. This is where you're meant to see more of who you really are based on your terms. Uranus in Taurus is showing us what we need to feel strong in our sense of self-love, self-value, and what we claim for ourselves. It's an energy of self-sufficiency, self-sustainability. I'm not going to edit that out, by the way. I think that's funny. It's about understanding that you're stable within yourself based on your own terms. And so the illusion or the false perception is that you have been taken further away from your own sense of self-worth. And this energy, the Uranus and Taurus, is saying, break it up. No, no, no. Let that go. This is the earthquake energy within you that is saying what is really you, because you need to claim it. You need to own it. This is a self-ownership. It's based on your sense of personal love and value. That's what Taurus does. It stabilizes us with practical, sensible ways of looking at something. It's like, this is your life. What do you claim for yourself? So Uranus opposing our girl Venus brings up, wait a minute, what does this mean to me? What does this relationship mean to me? Is this fulfilling me? Is this working on my terms and honoring what I need? These are financial energies too, by the way. Scorpio and Taurus are money signs. So it's looking at your finances, and there could be instability around that during this retrograde, but there could be bigger breakthroughs as well. Let's focus on the positive, right? But there could be that sense of, okay, this isn't enough, I need more. So the opposition between Venus and Uranus happens 3 times. September 13th is when it was at 2 degrees. October 31st is when Venus will be retrograde. Uranus will be retrograde, and it will be at 0 degrees. 0 degrees of Scorpio and 0 degrees of Taurus. So that will be another checking in point of looking at your finances, your self-worth, your relationships that are true for you. What do you need to change? This is an energy about really being honest with yourself about what needs to shift. And these are fixed signs. Scorpio and Taurus are fixed signs, so they don't want change. But this dynamic is saying it's time. It's like you've got to bust something up or break up or let something go because the tension is holding you back. The tension, the opposition, that sense of something outside of you is a false perception. Bring this back into yourself. And this is where you have to maybe make some choices or decisions around your new requirements of self-love. That's what she's working on here. The Venus and Scorpio is my new requirements of self-love are. And yet, in order to do that, she has to go into the cave and she has to dig deeper and she has to face her fears and her warts and where she felt shame. It's even looking at where you've maybe done things that you're not proud of, whether that's with money or in relationships with other people. Venus is a feminine energy, so it's with women, it's your girlfriends, your sisters, other women that you've worked with. It's your relationship with your own feminine energy that's being reworked, and you're being guided to be stronger in the feminine expression of self, but it's based on a whole new level of power. And in order to get there, we've got to do the work. So the feminine energy is doing her work right now, and she's reworking her ability to feel powerful within herself, and then claiming that through breaking up or understandings of what she learned that isn't truly her own, that isn't truly who she is. And this is the energy of disruption, okay? So again, the opposition on October 31st is showing you something else you need to know about unconscious relationship patterns based on lower expressions of self-worth that you need to elevate, that you're ready to step up. Step up and say, you know, I need to show up in those relationships in a different way. And when you do that, that's when the relationships change, because then those people can't relate to you in that same energy. So that's why these relationship changes are quite big during this retrograde. Now there's going to be one more opposition between Venus and Uranus, and that will be December 1st. December 1st, although at this point, Uranus will actually be at 29 degrees of Aries. Let's say that's where the 29, it's going to be in Aries. And Venus will be at 29 degrees of Libra. So they're no longer in the Scorpio Taurus energy. They're in the Libra Aries energy, which is a return to sense of self and an initiation of a new way to show up in relationships. Aries and Libra are cardinal signs which initiate and start something. And at 29 degrees, they're saying, okay, I'm actually ready to make a change here, a pivotal change, a concrete change to step into a new way to do relationships that are truly in a higher place of objectivity. When Venus goes back into Libra, she's more objective. She's able to step outside of the emotional world of Scorpio, and she's able to say, okay, yeah, I see what I did wrong there, or okay, I see what they did wrong there, and now I'm going to really be strong in my sense of self, my personal power, my independence. I'm going to look at if I was codependent, which she can be when she's in Scorpio, and maybe I need to change that in myself. Maybe I need to be more balanced in how I show up in relationships. And that's what this new opposition between Venus in Libra at 29 degrees and Uranus in Aries at 29 degrees is going to show you the new ways, the new parts of yourself you're going to bring forward into relationships. Again, that's December 1st. December 1st. So there's a lot going on here around understanding your part of relationships, what's your responsibility and what's not, what matters to you and where you have to let someone go. Because Scorpio is the sign of release, of letting go, and of loss, of what you need to lose in order to gain. Now, Venus does get strengthened during this time too, and she matures. And she does that through the connections with Saturn. So she's going to make a sextile to Saturn during her retrograde. She's going to make 2 more sextiles. So this is where Saturn is at, 3 degrees of Capricorn on October 5th. And then they're going to make a sextile October 24th and 25th at 4 degrees. So Saturn will then be at 4 degrees of Capricorn, and Venus will have moved back to 4 degrees of Scorpio. October 24th and 25th, Saturn matures us and says, conserve, save, do what's mature, do what you won't regret, make a decision that is mature, that is a sense of, I can do this on my own, that allows you to see your own responsibilities and to understand that less is more. You make long-term commitments when Venus and Saturn connect. So there's a checking in point here, October 24th and 25th of maturity, and saying, okay, I'm making these changes. I see what I need to let go of, because Venus will be retrograde. And now I understand that it's really for the best to say no and to let something be. She receives another strengthening sextile from Saturn, December 16th and 17th, right before she clears her shadow. And that's at 9 degrees. So Saturn will then be at, let's say, 9 degrees. Yep, a very official line there. Saturn will be direct at 9 degrees of Capricorn. Venus will be direct at 9 degrees of Scorpio. They will make a sextile, and that is when she will feel strong in her own sense of self and what she's learned, because Saturn in Capricorn brings the consequences or the karma, the understanding of responsibility to yourself as well as to others. And this is where she makes a new commitment to herself. Middle of December. And she makes that commitment, and then she moves past her shadow on December 19th. So there's a real changing here of energies. The middle of December, where she's like, I've got it. I'm strong. I understand how lovable I am about my role, my responsibility, what I've had to shift or change, how I've had to be more mature and maybe not as reactionary or emotional, where I haven't had to take on all the stuff, all of other people's stuff. There's the energy here of a new sense of feeling solid in one's core and in one's sense of, okay, this is what I'm committing to in myself in a whole new way at a whole new level. So the Saturn retrograde, the Saturn direct energies, because Saturn's direct, is supporting her strength, is supporting Venus getting stronger because she sees the bigger picture, the long term, the sense of how do I want to relate going forward? What relationships work for me? Again, this could be an energy of the no, the elimination, conserving your energy. And maybe it's less quantity, more quality. Maybe it's understanding that with money, it feels better to save or to spend less. And to know that I'll be provided for in a whole new way, but I need to have that strength within myself first. So the feminine energy is reworking herself big time during this retrograde, because she has to basically separate out what's hers and what's not hers. And both Scorpio and Libra are relationship energies. These are relationship signs. And so she's reviewing relationships, but it starts within, because people can only relate to you based on how your energy is in the first place, how you receive them, how you relate to them. So this brings up relationship changes that you've probably been feeling, that maybe you had an idea about, and you're stepping into something that is meant to elevate your sense of loving who you are, and then taking that new version of yourself into relationships going forward, and how you create relationships based on this new energetic vibration, this new understanding. Now, I know I gave you a lot of dates. I'm going to put those dates below this video, especially so that you can reference them as you watch this video whenever it comes up to your awareness. The transition of energy between Libra into Scorpio. Libra is how you think about relationships, how you talk about them, how you talk with other people. It's dating. And then Scorpio is mating. Scorpio is the sex, it's the intimacy, it's the getting to know someone deeper in a more personal way. And so these are the areas here where you're looking at what even your expectations are in relationships and what you need to change in how you think about them or how you show up to them. And then that will also alter the types of relationships that you engage in or that you're attracted to. And ultimately, this is about getting healthier relationships, healthier dynamics based on giving and receiving, Libra, and shared intimacy. Scorpio is intimate at all levels of your being. It's being able to be emotionally raw because you know that it's safe and it's okay to open up and to let somebody into your private world. And are you safe for them to do the same? So we have a lot here in the collective feminine that's being, again, reworked, reprogrammed, reconditioned so that she feels stronger and more powerful in herself. She feels like she can really set the terms for the energy that's in her world and that she doesn't have to go into other places that she's been before. The other thing about Scorpio is that it's all or nothing. And it's living and dying. So you could feel like a part of yourself dies in this retrograde period because it wasn't healthy, it wasn't truly you, it wasn't really your feminine energy or your feminine self. It was acting out of fear. It was acting out of emotional turmoil or lack. It was acting out of unconsciousness or programming that you took on from other people. Please be really gentle with yourself during this retrograde phase. This is deep, this is emotional, this is a time when you just might need more privacy, more alone time. And just know that it's actually going to help you rebirth to a higher energy field, to a higher sense of power, love, strength, and that will shift what you then attract in your world. That will shift because you're coming at it from a new place of strength. Now, please know, again, this is in the collective. This is everybody. And so part of the Venus in Scorpio is there could be some bitchy things. There could be mean girls. There could be jealousy, envy, betrayal, power struggles. You know, you just got to understand that can be part of Venus and Scorpio because, you know, some astrologers will be like, well, Venus in Scorpio doesn't even like herself. And there's some truth in that because until she really loves herself, until she really knows who she is, she doesn't know what love is because it seems like it's outside of who she is. So this is reclaiming relationships that start within, the relationship within yourself of really calling in new levels of love for self. Even if you felt the shame, even if you haven't liked yourself or you didn't know what to do about certain things, you were fearful, you didn't know how to have a healthy relationship with money, you didn't understand abundance. You know, Scorpio in its highest form can create amazing abundance and financial flows. Scorpio, when it's in its power, can really bring in all kinds of support. It's amazing healer energy, great energy stuff. It's something to claim. But in order to do that, you have to get rid of all the things that we carry from other lifetimes, other people, other experiences that we never let go of. This is letting go. Venus retrograde in Scorpio, let it go. Transform it. Transmute it. Look at how it doesn't have to stay as part of your experience if you can face the fears. We all have fears. We all have parts of our world that we're afraid of. You could be afraid of money, of never having enough money. Well, that's a perception. That's a programming. Did you get that from your mom, from your dad, from your family? Whatever fear comes up, you look at where that came from. And if you can't identify it precisely, it might be from another lifetime. But what you're saying is that, you know, I love myself so much, I'm not going to carry. I'm not going to carry these fears, this emotion, this wounding, this abuse, this heartbreak. I'm not going to carry it anymore. I'm going to be a badass who transmute it into something that is much more love-based for myself and for everyone else involved. One thing that you might find really healing right now is the Ho'oponopono prayer. I'm going to put that below this video as well. And that is a prayer that is about honoring who you are and loving what is, loving what has been, and allowing yourself to heal through it. It's a deep forgiveness prayer, but there's ways that it heals you body, mind, and soul, and it needs to heal you emotionally too. So this Venus retrograde is intense and it's emotional, and you'd want to look at where these energies are in your chart, because that's the area of life where this is going to show up for you. And the sooner you identify it, you'll know when it shows up. You'll know these parts of yourself as well as these parts of other people. And please know, my friend, that by the time January 7th comes around, Venus enters Sagittarius, and we will feel free and uplifted and positive. So it will pay off to do this work. It will pay off to do this reset of what has been unconscious or operating behind the scenes. It will all pay off with even more rewards, because Venus will enter Sagittarius, and then she's going to make a conjunction to Jupiter in Sagittarius, and that will be bam, like this, the opening of, oh my goodness, look at how far I've come. I shifted it, I moved it, I'm new, I'm positive, I'm motivated, I'm inspired. So it really isn't meant to stay in a stagnant or stuck place. And the ongoing conversations with Uranus and Saturn are supporting the transformation. Venus is not doing this alone. And one more thing, because I know someone's going to call it out. Yes, she is making a trine to Neptune. Neptune, 14 degrees. Pisces retrograde, and Neptune helps with the spiritual growth.